Oh, hello there. Um, I'm making an update to the previous worm farm that I posted. I'm gonna try to make this quick. You might have noticed that done a little bit of work around here, and this is because it's actually my second take. uh, my first take, I went on and on and on for a really long time. So if you thought this video is pretty long, just imagine how much I was ranting in that first take. The idea behind this, and I guess the background information, is that in the previous worm farm that I showcased, I had an arrangement that looked like this, where you could check into. You gotta make sure that you have enough charges on the worm, on the matosade. You fired it off once, you would activate it or proc it with a couple shot with the pollen, right? And it would cause worms to spawn. And they die immediately because they would get freeze meleeed, and they would have a 50% chance of dropping a heart. That's the idea. You farm that, and then you get lots of health. If you have a heart mage nearby, you can get millions of health easily. And that was it. Right? This was the build. Turns out there are more than one ways of making this farm, I guess. You can use, and the two main points that I'll be noting is that you can use the different circle of spells. I'll call them circle spells just because it's a lot easier to say. You use different circle spells, as well as, instead of piercing, you can also use bloodlust. Those are the main points. If that's all you need to know, then the rest of the video will just be me ranting a little bit. Um, Really, this is the build. And let me put any of these, you can replace any of these, and you drop this here. Just know that it might be good to fire off a second circle that doesn't have matosade, or it can have it, just to catch the straggler worms that sort of make it out of the circle of Fervor area or circle of Transmog and so on. And if you want to see how it works, I'll fire it off real quick. So what I would like to do, um, if I were to use this farm, is that I would first fire a version that does not have matosade. Maybe a couple times if you can afford to. These circles do have charges. Right now I have Chikui. Well, I have Spell Lab on, which gives you infinite charges of the spell. But as I said, and I'll actually use the Bloodlust this time. This is so that in case a worm makes it out of this area, it can get cleaned up by these spells. And as you can see, if you go near it, it won't damage you. But if you go to the center, because it has bloodlust, it will hurt you. So be a little bit careful of that. Now I'm just gonna move this bloodlust back here, and fire this off here. And heck, why not? Just a couple more in the surrounding areas, if I want to be safe, right? Just like that, and so on. Now, I'm going to use pollen, and this is just this was because I had a black hole. I was traveling around, but all you need is pollen to activate this farm, and there we go. Because I actually put a circle right here, it's a little bit finicky. Well, looks like it's doing fine. As you can see, sometimes a worm kind of starts trying to crawl out, but these surrounding circles sort of make sure that they don't try to do anything fun. And, let me move this. Like doing this also achieves the same result. You don't need to put anything. Again, this is just because I was using black holes. You can use pollen normally, and it would do the trick. This is with the Berserk Circle, and I'll show it again with the Circle of Stillness. You might think that because the Circle of Stillness freezes the worms that you don't need the freeze charge, but you actually do need the freeze charge, because the freezing effect runs on a sort of timer, if you will. Like it casts, it freezes enemies in the area after a couple, a time interval, and if a worm spawns between those freeze time intervals, then it'll make it out. And and you won't get the kill, or you'll have to chase it down. Pretty soon you have a ton of worms that are messing around in the world. Okay, and I'll show this with this spell right here. Oh, looks like I did not have enough charges of matosade, which is why I ended up firing a spark bolt. You know what? I'll switch the Circle of Fervor with a Circle of Thunder. And the purpose is to really show you that even though you can do the trick with Circle of Thunder, it's a little bit risky because you can electrocute yourself. But I'll leave it there. Okay, let's fire this off right here. If I go, and the same way to activate it as a previous spell. Fire off pollen into it, and it'll do its thing. Right. So right now we have 100 maximum health. Let's see how many we got from this little small farm. And again, because you have 2 charges of matosade, you can be farming two of these at the same time. And couple it with the heart mage, and you're in for a treat. I mean, if you get more of these spells, and I'll show you how in a moment, you can fire off 4 or 5, however many you want at the same time, and they'll all bunch up in the same general area, which is nice. So let's see how many hearts we get. We went from 100 to 100 to 2250, and this wasn't a very long duration farm. The farm usually goes on for much longer, but even in that brief moment, we went over to, we got 1,150 health. So pretty nice. The concentrated spell is here to fix the lag, but it seems like things are getting a little bit crunchy up here. So let me just clear all these and see how many hearts we got from this session. I think that was all of them. And we got 5,000 health from that little farm. So it's a really powerful build, and I'm going to show you how you can find the spells. These add trigger, add timer, and add expiration trigger. This right here will work in this slot. However, this has to be an add trigger. You can get this from fighting the Master of Masters. It's a guaranteed drop. This is from the bridge boss, also a guaranteed drop. However, if you do not want to fight bosses to make a hard farm, there's another way. If you get enough gold, whether by going to the gold room, getting greed, or other methods. Let's see if I can find out where I left this area. Okay, so I'm just gonna dig out here. If you go to the Hell Shop or the Heaven Shop, you can get the spells without having to fight anything. You have to avoid some pretty scary enemies. However, if you decide that it's worth avoiding bosses, if it's worth the risk of fighting bosses, then go for it. For example, here you can find the worm spell matosade. Let's see if we can find an add trigger. There's no add trigger here. Let's go maybe inwards a little bit. And it's a scary area. Most people, including me, would recommend going to the Hell Shop instead of the Heaven one. And instead of going into this biome where there's this area where there's a lot of enemies, you can just go straight up to the next Hell Shop. Here's the add expiration trigger, so that's 2 out of 3. Let's see if we can find an add trigger. If not, then I won't look any further because this video is getting pretty long already. But the idea of this spell, of this build, is that there are ways to make the worm farm a relatively feasible build in the early game, because you have many options for the circle spells. You can probably find the components when you're even in the mines at the first area. I mean, freeze charge, tentacle, concentrated light, multicast. You'll probably find these just doing a normal run, and a bloodlust and piercing. Although they are quite rare, it's much better than only looking for piercing, which was sort of the build I had before. Just piercing, but turns out bloodlust is also an option. So I'll do a quick check. If there's nothing here, then we'll leave it at that. But do trust me that you can find an add trigger in this game. I won't go into how you can kill the bridge boss or Master of Masters. There are many ways that I think people have found and posted. But that's sort of the idea. Here's the build one last time, and let me know if you try this out and it works out for you. If you're able to get to that millions of health. It's nice to not have to worry about cursed rock when going to parallel worlds or getting hit by enemies or getting blown up. You still gotta worry about poly as always, and Midas damage deals a percentage of your health, so that it won't protect you from that. Otherwise, everything else is fair game. Oh, and a freeze melee. Freeze melee will fuck you up because it takes you to below 1/4 of your health, and then if you get hit again, you straight up die. So you still have to be careful, but it does help out a lot with taking some environmental or chip damage. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful and informative, and I hope you enjoyed my little voice review, I suppose. I wanted to post this a little bit earlier, but I procrastinated it, so as you know, things are getting a little bit noisy. So, thank you for watching. I hope you find this helpful. It works. I hope it works for you. And again, let me know if you try this out. Peace. See ya.